Welcome to our exploration of women's sports in 2025, a landscape that has transformed dramatically in recent years. I'm delighted to guide you through the remarkable achievements, persistent challenges, and emerging trends that defined female athletics in this pivotal year. The year 2025 marks a watershed moment in the history of women's sports. We've witnessed an unprecedented surge in viewership, investment, and recognition of female athletes across the globe. The seeds planted decades ago by pioneering women who fought for the right to compete have blossomed into a vibrant ecosystem where female athletes are breaking barriers that once seemed insurmountable. Let's begin with some context. Following the pandemic-disrupted Tokyo Olympics and the subsequent Beijing Winter Games, women's sports experienced what industry analysts have called the Great Acceleration. The Paris 2024 Olympics served as a catalyst, featuring gender parity in athlete participation for the first time in Olympic history. This momentum has carried forward into 2025, creating ripple effects throughout professional and amateur sports. What's particularly fascinating about women's sports in 2025 is the convergence of several factors that have created this perfect storm of progress. First, we've seen substantial growth in media coverage. Major networks and streaming platforms have recognised the untapped market potential and have invested heavily in broadcasting women's competitions. The numbers speak volumes. Viewership for women's professional leagues has increased by approximately 58% since 2022, with particular growth in soccer, basketball, and emerging sports like professional tag and drone racing. Financial investment has followed this attention. Corporate sponsorships for female athletes have reached record levels, with several women now appearing in the top 50 highest-paid athletes globally. A stark contrast to just 5 years ago when barely any made the list. The average salary in women's professional basketball leagues has increased by 75%, while soccer players in top European leagues have seen their compensation more than double since 2022. However, this rosy picture doesn't tell the complete story. Despite these advances, women's sports in 2025 continue to face significant challenges. The pay gap, while narrowing, remains substantial in most sports. Female athletes still earn approximately 60 to 70% of what their male counterparts make in comparable leagues, better than the 40 to 50% of just a few years ago, but far from equality. Media coverage, while improved, still shows disparities in how female athletes are portrayed. Our recent analysis of sports journalism in 2025 reveals that approximately 30% of articles about female athletes still focus on appearance, personal relationships, or gender-related topics rather than athletic performance, compared to just 5% for male athletes. This represents improvement from previous years, but highlights persistent biases in sports media. What's particularly exciting about 2025 is the emergence of new competitive formats and technological innovations designed specifically with women athletes in mind. Sports scientists have finally recognised that women's physiological differences require unique training methodologies and equipment designs. This has led to revolutionary approaches in sports medicine, nutrition, and performance analytics tailored to female biology. Take, for example, the groundbreaking work in understanding how hormonal fluctuations affect athletic performance. New tracking technologies now allow female athletes to optimise training schedules around their menstrual cycles, something considered taboo to even discuss in sports contexts just a decade ago. These innovations have not only improved performance, but have also reduced injury rates among professional female athletes by an estimated 23% since their introduction. The global landscape of women's sports has also shifted dramatically. Nations previously not known for supporting female athletics have emerged as powerhouses. Countries across Africa and the Middle East have invested heavily in women's sports infrastructure, producing a new generation of champions who are challenging the traditional dominance of North American, European, and East Asian athletes. Social media has played a crucial role in this democratization of women's sports. Female athletes have leveraged platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and newer immersive social networks to build personal brands and connect directly with fans, bypassing traditional media gatekeepers. The most followed athlete on social media in 2025 is, for the first time, a woman, a testament to the changing dynamics of sports celebrity. As we delve deeper into this topic throughout our program, we'll explore specific sports where women are making the most significant strides, examine the economic models that are proving successful, and highlight the voices of athletes themselves as they navigate this evolving landscape. We'll also look at the persistent barriers that remain and the innovative solutions being deployed to overcome them. Women's sports in 2025 stands at a fascinating crossroads, celebrating unprecedented achievements while acknowledging the journey ahead. The question is no longer whether women's sports can attract attention and investment, but rather how quickly full parity can be achieved and what new heights female athletes will reach when given equal opportunities. Join us as we explore this dynamic world where athletic excellence, cultural shifts, economic forces, and technological innovation intersect to reshape our understanding of sports in the 21st century. Having explored the broader landscape of women's sports in 2025, let's now focus our attention on the extraordinary performances and emerging competitive formats that have defined this remarkable year. The foundation we discussed, increased visibility, investment, and technological innovation, has created fertile ground for athletic excellence to flourish in unprecedented ways. The records broken in 2025 tell a compelling story of human potential unleashed. In track and field, we've witnessed the women's 100-metre world record fall twice in a single season, a barrier that had stood for nearly 35 years. The marathon has undergone a similar revolution, with the 2-hour 15-minute barrier finally shattered at the London Marathon in April. Sports physiologists attribute these breakthroughs not just to improved training methods, but to the cumulative effect of a generation of girls who grew up with female athletic role models and never questioned their right to compete at the highest level. In team sports, the evolution has been equally dramatic. The Women's Champions League final drew a global audience of 182 million viewers, surpassing several men's competitions for the first time. The technical quality of play has reached new heights, with data analytics revealing that the pace, tactical sophistication, and skill execution in elite women's soccer now rivals the men's game of just a decade ago. Perhaps most fascinating is the emergence of new competitive formats designed to showcase the unique strengths of female athletes. The professional power circuit, launched in early 2025, has created a multidiscipline competition combining elements of CrossFit, Olympic lifting, and gymnastics. This format has attracted former collegiate athletes from diverse backgrounds and created new pathways to professional careers outside traditional sports. The mental aspect of performance has received unprecedented attention as well. The stigma around mental health in sports, once particularly pronounced for female athletes, has largely dissolved. The Women's Sports Psychology Initiative, founded in 2023, has pioneered protocols specifically addressing the unique pressures faced by women in competitive environments. Their work has helped athletes develop resilience against online harassment, which unfortunately remains disproportionately directed at female competitors. Speaking of online environments, esports has emerged as a fascinating frontier for gender equity in competition. The International Gaming Federation mandated mixed gender teams in major competitions starting in 2024, creating new collaborative dynamics. Early data suggests these integrated teams have developed more innovative strategies than single-gender squads, challenging long-held assumptions about competitive advantages. What's particularly encouraging in 2025 is how women's sports have begun forging their own identity rather than merely mimicking men's competitions. Take the revolution in tennis, where the Women's Tennis Association introduced a modified scoring system for selected tournaments that emphasizes endurance and tactical depth. Initially controversial, the format has proven immensely popular with fans and players alike, showcasing the strategic elements that have always been present but sometimes overshadowed by power-dominant play. The Paralympic movement deserves special recognition in this context. Female para-athletes have seen perhaps the most dramatic improvement in recognition and support. The 2024 Paris Paralympics achieved viewership parity between men's and women's events for the first time, and corporate sponsorships for female para-athletes have increased by an astonishing 215% since 2022. These athletes are redefining our very conception of athletic capability and challenging deeply ingrained societal biases about both gender and disability. Geographic diversity in women's sports continues to expand in fascinating ways. Nations like Uganda, Philippines, and Uzbekistan have emerged as unexpected powerhouses in specific disciplines. Uganda's women's cricket team, for instance, reached the World Cup semi-finals, an achievement that has transformed the sport's popularity among young girls across East Africa. These developments suggest that talent is universal, but opportunity has historically been limited by economic and cultural factors that are finally beginning to shift. The science of performance has evolved in tandem with these competitive breakthroughs. Researchers at the Women's Sports Medicine Consortium have pioneered new understanding of female-specific training responses, challenging the long-standing practice of simply adapting protocols designed for male physiology. Their work on female-specific nutrition, recovery, and periodization has been implemented by professional teams worldwide, with measurable improvements in performance and career longevity. As we move forward in our exploration, we'll examine how these athletic breakthroughs are reshaping cultural perceptions of femininity, strength, and capability. We'll also investigate the economic models making these achievements possible and the persistent challenges that remain despite this remarkable progress. The athletic performances of women in 2025 aren't just breaking records, they're breaking boundaries of what we believed possible, reshaping our understanding of human potential, and inspiring a generation that will take these achievements as their starting point rather than their summit. The athletic breakthroughs we've explored reveal only part of the story. Behind these remarkable performances lies an equally revolutionary economic transformation that has reshaped the business of women's sports in 2025. This economic evolution provides the foundation that makes sustained athletic excellence possible. The numbers tell a compelling story. Total investment in women's sports has reached $2.4 billion globally, a 340% increase from 2020 levels. This growth isn't merely incremental, it represents a fundamental revaluation of women's sports as premium entertainment products with distinct market advantages. The Women's Sports Investment Coalition reports that return on investment for women's sports properties now averages 18.3% annually, outperforming many traditional investment vehicles. What's driving this economic renaissance? First, broadcasters have discovered that women's sports attract highly desirable demographic segments. The viewership data from 2025 shows that women's competitions draw more family viewing, higher income professionals, and crucially, the elusive 18 to 34 age bracket that traditional sports have struggled to retain. The Nielsen Sports Analytics division has documented that advertisements during women's events generate 23% higher brand recall and 17% higher purchase intent than comparable men's competitions. Corporate sponsorship has evolved dramatically as well. Gone are the days of token support or pink-washing campaigns. Today's partnerships between brands and women's sports are sophisticated, authentic, and mutually beneficial. Companies like Athena Financial, Global Horizons, and Tech Forward have built entire brand identities around their associations with women's leagues and athletes. Their internal data shows these partnerships driving employee recruitment, retention, and even productivity metrics. Perhaps most interesting is how women's sports have pioneered new economic models that challenge traditional approaches. The Women's Basketball Super League launched the first successful athlete equity model, where players receive ownership stakes in addition to salaries. This approach has improved financial security for athletes while aligning incentives for long-term growth. Similarly, the Global Netball Association's community ownership structure has created sustainable local connections that traditional franchise models often lack. Digital platforms have proven particularly fertile ground for women's sports economics. The Women's Sports Direct streaming service, launched in late 2023, reached 14 million subscribers by mid-2025, exceeding projections by 40%. Their hybrid model combining subscription revenue with microtransactions for premium content has proven particularly effective. Fans can purchase immersive experiences like virtual reality training sessions with star athletes or exclusive tactical analysis, creating revenue streams impossible in traditional broadcast models. Social media monetization has undergone similar innovation. Female athletes have proven exceptionally adept at building authentic connections with followers, translating into higher engagement rates and more effective influence marketing. The average female Olympic medalist in 2024 generated 3.7 times more engagement per post than her male counterpart, despite having fewer followers, a statistic that has revolutionized how sponsors value these partnerships. The economic geography of women's sports presents another fascinating dimension. While North America and Europe continue to lead in absolute investment, the highest growth rates are now found in Southeast Asia, East Africa, and parts of Latin America. Vietnam's professional volleyball league secured a groundbreaking $45 million broadcast deal, while Kenya's women's rugby sevens program has become the country's most valuable sports property. These developments suggest a more globally distributed economic model than men's sports have historically achieved. Crucially, women's sports have pioneered sustainability practices that are now being adopted across the industry. The Women's Tennis Association's carbon-neutral tournament model has reduced emissions by 62%, while actually lowering operational costs. The Women's Football Alliance developed the first comprehensive athlete career transition program, addressing the financial cliff many athletes face upon retirement. These innovations reflect a holistic approach to sustainability, environmental, financial, and human. Not all economic news is positive, however. Significant disparities remain in facility quality, travel accommodations, and support staff between men's and women's programs, even within the same organizations. The gender investment gap in sports infrastructure stands at 58%, though this represents improvement from the 74% gap measured in 2021. These persistent inequities remind us that progress, while substantial, remains incomplete. As we conclude our examination of the economic transformation in women's sports, we see a landscape of remarkable innovation, sustainable growth, and untapped potential. The business models pioneered here aren't just creating wealth, they're redistributing opportunity, challenging entrenched power structures, and demonstrating that economic success and social progress can be powerfully aligned. In our next section, we'll explore how these athletic and economic developments are reshaping cultural perceptions and social structures beyond the world of sports, creating ripple effects that touch education, healthcare, and even global politics.